Luna here, and today we're finding out, can you beat Oblivion with a randomized character? First, we need to generate our character. The randomize option in-game only affects appearance, although we'll be using that too. For race, gender, birth sign, specialization, favorite attributes, and major skills, I assigned each possibility a number and used random.org's random number generator. We rolled a female Redguard with the ritual birth sign who favors intelligence and speed. She specializes in combat, and her major skills are speechcraft, conjuration, heavy armor, security, restoration, destruction, and blunt. We have healing, a variety of damage, good armor, and minions. So to make things interesting, we'll be increasing random attributes when we level up. The other rules are the same as my other class-restricted runs, but I'll go over them just in case. We must pick our class, race, birth sign, and gender randomly. Already done that. We must level up as soon as we reasonably can, and we must increase random attributes. We must reach level 20 before entering Paradise. We must use our major skills in combat, but non-combat minor skills are allowed. No glitches, exploits, cheats, or gameplay mods. Official DLC is allowed. We're allowed to use armor, athletics, acrobatics, mercantile, security, and speechcraft, regardless of whether they're major or minor skills, because they're non-combat, but we won't train them if they're minor skills. I also can't toggle walking and running on a controller like you can on keyboard mouse, so pushing the analog stick too far would invalidate the run if increasing athletics was against the rules and we accidentally ran. That sounds tedious to play or watch. I might try a no running challenge, but I'll be on keyboard mouse. Other skills are banned if they aren't major skills. Before we start, just a quick reminder to consider subscribing if you enjoy the video. It really helps the channel. If you want to see me suffer through Oblivion as Perrin, a character whose only combat skill is hand-to-hand, then pop over and give the leveling as a bad class video a like to get it to 500 likes. Back to the run. We use the tutorial loot to purchase iron and steel armor from the best defense. We lack mysticism, so we can only soul trap with enchantments. There are blunt weapons with Soul Trap that would be a huge help, but finding one is down to luck. The Mace of Molag Bal doesn't have Soul Trap in Oblivion, only in Skyrim. Volendrung paralyzes targets, but it's energy hungry, slow, heavy, and its damage will be outclassed at higher levels. And there are enemies that could reflect the paralysis back at us. Raw Shatter has shock damage, but its weakness to shock effect won't increase that shock damage because the way weakness effects work confused even the devs, apparently. It also doesn't reach its full potential until level 25. For now, Caliban's Grim Retort is our best option. It's an unleveled mace with the same damage as an elven mace, and an enchantment that absorbs strength and blunt and does 10 points of frost damage. We won't be able to keep it charged, but its damage is great for the early game, even without the enchantment. To get it, we need access to the Trentius family mausoleum, which is unlocked during the Unfriendly Competition quest. Luckily, that quest is started right here in the Market District. I was worried that we'd have to sneak to eavesdrop on Thorinir and Agarmir, but we can walk right up to them and they'll blab about their shady business while guards walk by. We don't have to sneak while following Agamir either, and if we pick the lock to his house while no one is nearby, we can avoid getting a bounty even though we're not sneaking. After taking out Agamir for grave robbing, we proceed to rob the mausoleum for our new weapon. I never noticed it when I did this quest before. It's tucked behind one of the graves. Afterwards, we take evidence of Agamir's crimes that we definitely did not benefit from to Thorinir and Jensine. Apparently, a muddy shovel is enough evidence to get away with removing Agamir and his associate from the census. We also had the Macabre Manifest and Thorinir's testimony, but the quest puts more emphasis on the shovel. For our first level up, we roll 1, 2, and 3, so we get 2 agility, endurance, and intelligence. For our second level up, we roll 5, 3, and 6, and get 1 personality, 3 intelligence, and 2 speed. I'd prefer the +3 endurance or literally anything besides personality, but we got what we got. While I grind skills in the arena, let's discuss leveling. Our major skills cover most attributes: blunt, strength, heavy armor, endurance, conjuration, intelligence, destruction and restoration, willpower, security, agility. Speechcraft increases personality, and I'm glad only one of our major skills is wasted on that. Athletics and acrobatics will go up naturally, which helps speed. Having lots of +2s and 3s would normally be inefficient, but in this run it means we'll get 2 or 3 points no matter what we roll. A more focused set of major skills would have given us more +3s and 4s, but they'd be useless if they weren't one of the 3 attributes we rolled, so in reality it probably would have left us with a lot of +1s. Our skill variety also means that most attributes are useful. Strength increases melee damage, intelligence and willpower allow us to use more spells, speed is always nice, and agility may help us avoid staggers. Endurance gives us more health per level, so it's amazing. Strength, agility, and endurance also increase our stamina, which is good because blunt weapons consume a lot of stamina with each swing due to their weight. Luck gives a small bonus to all skills, but the bonus doesn't go over 100, so it won't help anything we master. At level 4, we roll 3, 7, and 6, so we increase intelligence, strength, and speed by 2. Having to pass on the +3 endurance is painful, but at least the attributes we rolled are useful. We've reached the arena fight with the orc with the glass warhammer, which tends to be a difficulty spike for melee characters, especially melee characters who can't block and are stuck with a slow weapon. Maybe it's because I'm used to blades, but we're struggling to get a hit in without hitting while she's blocking and recoiling, which is often deadly. We don't have enough magicka or speed to fight her at range with magic, and our scamp doesn't last long enough to use up its firebolts and get into melee combat. On our 3rd attempt, we get a lucky stagger and circle her, taking off a lot of her health, but we still have a long way to go. We have just enough speed to back up and heal while avoiding most of her attacks, as long as we don't get caught on anything behind us, but we can't counterattack safely unless she uses a power attack, and sometimes not even then. I wish we could take her glass warhammer when we finally win, but that's impossible without glitches because you're not allowed to loot your opponent in the arena. If I could change one thing about this character so far, I'd swap out Speechcraft for Block because it'd make melee combat so much easier. The next thing would be the birthsign. Mara's gift is useful, but I never pick the ritual sign, so I keep forgetting we have it. Level 5 is awful. We roll 1, 5, and 7, so we get 1 agility and personality and 2 strength. It takes a lot of agility to noticeably reduce stagger, otherwise it just gives us a bit of stamina. The 2 strength is nice, but we need more intelligence, willpower, and endurance. The fight against the 3 Argonians is tricky, because if our stamina is low, the unarmed Argonians' attacks will knock us down. We use Adrenaline Rush and Mara's gift to tank through it and take out the unarmed Argonians, but the one with a blade just barely survives as Adrenaline Rush wears off, putting our stamina into the negatives when we lose its fortification. We stay down until we regenerate enough stamina to get above 0, and have to use a potion to survive long enough to stand up. Stamina management is vital with blunt weapons, especially since we can't hide behind a shield. With bows, stamina becomes a non-issue at apprentice level marksman skill, and with blades, the stamina consumption per swing is so much lower, I rarely notice it unless we use a claymore. Porkchop handles most of the fight against the 3 combatants to become champion. In fact, I think he got 2 of the 3 final blows, so by rights, Porkchop should be the champion. The Grey Prince is easy. He hits hard, but he can't quite catch us, so we can run away to heal and regain stamina. We didn't do his quest because the reward increases blade, block, and athletics. It counts as a magical fortification and doesn't contribute to leveling up, but I'd prefer to avoid it. Level 6 is even worse than level 5. In fact, we roll 3 5s in a row because the RNG wanted to make sure we were stuck with one personality. But we have to pick 3 different attributes when we level, so the duplicate numbers are re-rolled and we get 4 and 7 for 1 luck and 2 strength. We could have gotten 4 endurance, but of course we didn't. We'll probably only get endurance during our later levels, if at all, with the way our luck is going. Endurance's per level health bonus is not retroactive, so the more levels we spend with low endurance, the worse our health will be. I'm glad we at least rolled a red guard with 50 endurance. If we had rolled a Breton or female elf, all of which have 30, we'd be really squishy. I have a feeling we'll need good armor and enchantments to make up for lackluster health, even with the 50 endurance. So we headed to Namira's shrine with some cheap wine to get Namira's ring for its damage and spell reflection. We can't complete the quest the intended way because the spell we're meant to use gives alteration experience, and we don't have alteration as a major skill. However, we can attack the priests and lead them to the undead in the ruins without failing the quest. It doesn't go as smoothly as it did in our leveling as a bad class run though. We lead them to the undead, a zombie and ghost, but the ghost locks onto us and refuses to attack the priests. 3 of the priests go the wrong way and get stuck running into a hidden door. And by the time we open it, the zombie has taken out the 1 priest that followed us and has also locked onto us. NPCs' melee attacks will only hit their intended target, so even if we lead the zombie to the priests, their hits won't draw its attention and its hits won't hurt them because they're all aiming at us. We run away in the hopes that they'll turn on each other if we're not there, but not only do they stay locked on us, the people doing golem impressions take out our zombie. Thankfully, the Forgotten have clubs and the priests have iron maces, neither of which harm ghosts. Ghosts also use frost spells, and ranged spells can damage unintended targets. It's a long and annoying process that takes most of our potions because the priests hit us the whole time, but we can bait the ghost's range spell and use it to damage the priests. It won't cast if the priests are in the way, even though it's also hostile to the priests. But it'll keep tracking us once it starts casting, so we step to the side where it can see us and move back to the priests once it starts casting, so the priests are in the way of the spell. We leveled up thanks to all the heavy armor increases from getting pummeled by the priests, but of course we don't get to take the +4 endurance this time either. We roll another 5, 7, and 8. So we get 1 personality and strength and 2 willpower. I think we've rolled personality on half our levels so far. Why? We head to the Shivering Isles next. I'm not certain that we'll need anything from there, but just in case, I want to get past the gatekeeper. It'll only get stronger as we level, and it doesn't look like the same can be said for us. So this fight will only get worse if we put it off. The adventurer captain that's fighting the gatekeeper when we arrive to show how tough it is has a full suit of dwarven armor with our name on it. So once he starts running, we bash him in the face and our scamp finishes the job. Apparently the Dark Brotherhood has eyes even in the realm of the mad. Can't say I'm surprised, considering Lucian followed me into the dream world once. Someone somehow reported the initial assault, but not the finale. So we have a 40 gold bounty, but the armor isn't considered stolen, so we can just pay the fine later. Getting past the gatekeeper is less of a problem than you might think, because while we can't make custom potions and poisons, we can use pre-made potions and poisons without raising our alchemy skill. So Relmina's tears are on the table. Those plus our scamp are more than enough to take out the gatekeeper, although we had to use adrenaline rush to survive even that long. We find golden saints not far from the gates of madness and turn ourselves in, which means we get to warp to the capital for the low price of 40 gold. I doubt we'll be able to buy enchanted jewelry from Errol's Mysteries because we'd need 50 mercantile. While we're allowed to raise mercantile, it goes up very slowly, and we're not allowed to train it. We can forge madness gear, assuming we find madness ore. Level 8 is the best level up we've had for a while. We roll 2, 7, and 1, so we get to increase endurance, strength, and agility. Thankfully, we got 3 endurance. It still hurts that we had to pass on a couple of +4s, but I was convinced we weren't going to roll endurance at all. We also got 2 strength and 1 agility. I wish we'd gotten willpower or intelligence. Being a red guard has helped with our base endurance and the adrenaline rush power, but it's hurt our ability to use magic due to our low intelligence and willpower. Being a Breton would have helped there, and the magic resistance might have been worth the endurance drop, but I'll still take Redguard over any of the elves for this run. The High Elves' elemental weaknesses wouldn't have been worth the extra magicka, and Dark Elves and Wood Elves aren't as magically inclined as you'd think. For level 9, we're back to crap as we roll 1, 4, and 3 to get 1 agility, luck, and intelligence. The intelligence would have been great if we'd gotten it on a level up where we got conjuration skill. In fact, rolling anything else would have given us 2 or 3 points in an attribute instead of 1. At least we weren't stuck with personality. That doesn't last long because level 10 rolls 7, 2, and another 7, which sadly re-rolls into a 5, so we get 2 strength, 3 endurance, and 2 personality. I'll still take it because we got endurance and strength. Level 11 rolls 1, 5, and then redeems itself somewhat with a 2, so we get 1 point of agility and personality and 3 points of endurance. It's looking like we'll need Magicka Fortification if we want to be a half-decent spellcaster, because we've gotten only 1 willpower increase, and the intelligence increases have been really poor lately despite having a promising start. But that'll have to wait until we're a higher level. For now, we head out to Malakath's shrine and offer him some troll fat. Lord Drad's estate isn't far from the shrine, although it certainly feels like it is at the pace we're moving. Between the heavy armor and the elven battle axe, we can barely manage a jog unless we unequip our gear because all of it is heavy. We eventually make it to the estate, and of course Lord Drad is a dark elf. That makes perfect sense. We lie through our teeth, which gets him to tell us where the mine is, although it isn't hard to figure out considering you can see it from his front door. There are several heavily armed guards inside, and while our adrenaline rush, Mara's gift, and Scamp carry us partway through the battle, we have to retreat. Luckily, we gained the expert heavy armor perk during the fight, which reduces the weight of worn heavy armor by half. This frees up carry weight and helps us move faster, so once we lure a couple of guards outside, we beat them fairly easily. Although we briefly turn into an Eldritch abomination when we collapse from adrenaline rush wearing off. We head back into the mine and take out the captain with the help of our Scamp, but the last 2 guards force us to retreat again, and we wait for them to follow us out. One of them eventually does, and we finish him off. The second one retired from life in the mine. I'm guessing our Scamp was responsible. Regardless, we free both groups of ogres and return to Malakath's shrine. He gives us Volendrung, a warhammer that drains 5 health and paralyzes for a few seconds. The health drain is nearly useless. I wonder if it was intended to damage or absorb health, because unless we're fighting rats, temporarily reducing the target's max health by 5 doesn't do much. Paralysis can be amazing if we aren't fighting enemies with spell reflection, because if it's reflected, then we'll be paralyzed instead. Unsurprisingly, Volendrung's enchantment consumes slightly more than a petty soul with each swing, so it'll only be used if we really need it. Next, we head to Periite's shrine to do his quest yet again, because Spellbreaker is too useful to ignore in runs that get to level 10. We can use Spellbreaker to nearly its full potential because we were lucky enough to get heavy armor as a major skill. Spellbreaker is a heavy shield, so wearing it increases our armor rating and our heavy armor skill when we're hit, but block only increases if we block, so we'll just not do that. We also get its spell reflection boost, bringing our spell reflection to 40%. If we hadn't gotten heavy armor, then the only way we'd be able to equip a heavy shield would be to equip a two-handed weapon or no weapon, so the shield wouldn't contribute to our armor rating. Armor weighting. Boy, just Elmer Fudd trying to narrate this, I guess. If we hadn't gotten heavy armor, then the only way we'd be able to equip a heavy shield would be to equip a two-handed weapon or no weapon, so the shield wouldn't contribute to our armor rating, but would give us its enchantment. Oddly, this also means getting block, but not getting any armor skills to go with it, would mean you could only block with weapons. I forgot to record level 12, but we rolled 1, 7, and another 5. If I was going to cheat, do you think I'd have chosen 1 agility and 2 strength and personality? I noticed I wasn't recording before we leveled to 13, and we roll 1, 7, and 8, so we get 1 agility, 3 strength, and 2 willpower. For level 14, we roll 3, 5, and 2 for 2 intelligence, personality, and endurance. At least 2 of the attributes were good, but we've gotten personality so many times. Then I noticed we have 6 illusion skill. It should be 5 because we aren't allowed to increase it. We've had no training sessions and we don't know any illusion spells, so we couldn't raise it with use even if we wanted to, but we have read 1 skill book. It must have been an illusion skill book and I missed it. My last save before the increase is hours of grinding ago, and at most, this illegal illusion skill point got us an extra point of personality. A real game changer, I know. But we're going to continue as is and be more careful around books, because if it had given us a useful attribute, then I'd have had no choice but to load back. Level 15 rolls 4, 1, and 7. We aren't stuck with personality, but 2 agility and 1 luck are almost as bad. Only the 2 strength is useful. For level 16, we roll 4, 1, and 8 for 1 luck and 2 agility and willpower. That's not great, but level 17 managed to be worse by rolling 4, 6, and 5 for 1 luck, speed, and personality. Intelligence, strength, willpower, and endurance are by far the most useful attributes for us, and even though they make up half the available options, it feels like we're lucky if we roll 1 of them. At the end of all this, I'm going to count how many times each attribute was rolled and how much we increased it over the course of the run to see if I'm going crazy or not, but I think the random number generator hates me. On a more positive note, now that we're level 17, we can start the main quest. I wanted us to be level 17, so we'll go through the main quest at a high level for maximum pain, and we can get Transcendent Sigil Stones. We drop the Amulet of Kings off with Joffrey and head to Kavash. We're up against Daedroths, Dremora, Clanfears, and Flame Atronachs. Against 1 enemy, we do alright. Against 2, we have to fight carefully, and against more, we have to separate them to have a chance. They're doing tons of damage and staggering us a lot, and we can't reliably stagger them without blocking. Compared to blades, blunt weapons are slower, consume more stamina, and have only slightly higher damage. So you'd think they'd have a higher stagger chance, but if they do, I haven't noticed it, even with power attacks. Nobody seems to know how stagger works. Agility, current stamina, damage dealt or received, weapon weight, and luck all might affect it, but none of those appear to change it much if they affect it at all. Power attacks don't help against blocking enemies either. Even if we break the block with a power attack, we still recoil, so we can't take advantage of it. It highlights how much melee combat in Oblivion relies on hiding behind a shield. We also ran into a Dremora with a willpower damaging sword and 2 with strength damaging swords. Now that we're finally at Journeyman Restoration, we may restore the Mage's Tower's spellcrafting altar and create attribute restoring spells for situations like this. Better healing and summoning spells would help too, but we're very limited by our magicka. We've saved Scum for a Sigil Stone with Fortify Magicka, Fortify Strength, or Shield. You could argue that we should take whatever Sigil Stone we get to fit the RNG nature of the run, but that wouldn't make the run harder, it would just make the run longer because we'd have to close more gates. We get Martin to Cloud Ruler Temple and head to the Imperial City to find the Culty books. For once, we try to convince Phintius to give us the 3rd volume instead of yelling at Gwyneth until he gives it to us. We have Speechcraft as a major skill. We've unwillingly increased our personality to 53. We have 38 fame because we're Grand Champion of the Arena and the Hero of Kvatch. And being Redguard gives us a bonus because Phintius is also a Redguard. We should be good, right? Wrong. We only get his disposition to 61, and it needs to be 80 for Phintius to sell us the book. Even if we got his disposition to 80 with a charm spell or bribes, we would still be at a disadvantage compared to yelling at Gwyneth, which literally every character can do for free. Why does Speechcraft exist? I'm not throwing gold away, so we wait for Gwyneth and obtain Volume 3 as usual. During that debacle, I realized we need to level up, so we head to the arena and take a nap. We roll 8, 3, and 4 for 2 willpower and intelligence and 1 luck. For once, I'm happy because we need more magicka and magicka regen. I would have traded luck for endurance or strength, but we weren't stuck with personality, so I'll take it. We're woken up by Boris demanding an update. I'd like to point out, even with our level up nap, it's only been a few hours. I didn't even know he would start tracking us down. We're going to make him wait because I don't want to fight Raven Cameron until we're level 22, so we can get a mundane ring from him for spell reflection and magic resistance. We leave Boris waiting and head off to find random Oblivion gates to grind for levels and sigil stones. These go largely the same as the Kvatch gate, so you guys get to skip them through the magic of editing. Level 19 rolls 4, 6, and 7 for 1 luck and 2 speed and strength. I'm getting really tired of managing our inventory with all these heavy weapons, and I'd like to know if bound weapons use less stamina since they're weightless. So we joined the Mages Guild for Bound Mace and War Axe spells, as well as new minions that we probably won't have enough magicka for, but we have gold, so why not? There are no bound battle axes or warhammers, but we want a one-handed weapon anyway so we can use Spellbreaker. For some reason, binding a mace costs twice as much magicka as binding a war axe, and takes nearly our entire magicka pool to bind for 15 seconds. Unless we get enough magicka fortification and conjuration skill, its cost makes it little more than a curiosity. It does more damage than Volendrung, but the closest comparison is Caliban's Grim Retort since they're both maces. The bound mace does more damage and has the same attack speed and reach, but takes way less stamina. I tested this by setting a 15-second timer, swinging Caliban's Grim Retort like crazy while standing still, and checking our stamina when the timer went off. The bound mace comes with a timer built in, although we have to draw it while the spell times down, so we were likely swinging Caliban's Grim Retort for a little longer. Caliban's Grim Retort took 80% of our stamina bar to swing for 15 seconds, and the bound mace took 20%. That's an insane difference that would make our melee damage way more consistent. It may also help us stagger enemies and get staggered less, but who knows? The stagger gods are an enigma. The War Axe costs about half our magicka to bind for 15 seconds, and if we aren't using any other spells, we can bind it several times before we run out of magicka. But that's a big if because we often summon our scamp and heal ourselves. Compared to the bound mace, the War Axe does less damage but swings faster. I know that it's quite easy to make bound items permanent by repairing them, which allows us to drop them and then pick them up once the spell is timed down to get permanent, super durable, weightless, enchantable Daedric weapons, effectively removing all the downsides of bound weapons while keeping the benefits. But this is against the no glitches or exploits rule. If we use bound weapons, we'll have to deal with their cost, timers, and not being able to enchant them. Bound armor and shields aren't great options for several reasons. 1. Summoning a full set of armor, a shield, and a weapon for 15 seconds would be more than our magicka could handle. By a lot. Even for characters with large magicka pools, like Bretons or High Elves with the Apprentice, Atronach, or Mage birth signs, the cost of binding a full set of equipment for a usable duration is significant. 2. Bound armor cannot be enchanted. In my opinion, this is a worse drawback on armor than on weapons, because armor enchantments don't have to be charged in Oblivion and are a constant, maintenance-free boost once obtained. It also compounds the magicka cost because we lose a lot of magicka fortification enchantments. 3. Weightless armor doesn't help nearly as much as weightless weapons because light armor experts and heavy armor masters make any armor they wear weightless. 4. The bound cuirass and greaves are heavy armor, but the helm, gauntlets, boots, and shield are light armor. This means even a master of conjuration and both armor skills can't make effective use of bound armor because the light armor master perk requires wearing only light armor. In our case, it makes most of the set unusable because we aren't allowed to use light armor. Up to this point, we've been leveling mostly naturally, other than occasional conjuration grinding while traveling. I did this because grinding is boring, and having a lot of +2s and 3s is a good thing in this run because it means we'll get a couple of points no matter what the RNG tells us to increase. Most of the time. However, leveling naturally is getting difficult. Blunt and heavy armor are close to maxed out because those are what we use most in combat. Conjuration is also high because it increases quickly and we use it in combat. Restoration, on the other hand, is middling even though we use it a ton because it increases so slowly. We go to buy the Mage Tallow candles to access the Mage's Tower spellcrafting altar, only to realize we can't sneak to pick the bugged and permanently locked Mystic Emporium, so we go to the Tower Doomstone so we can use the Warden's Key Greater Power to open the lock, which, unlike picking the lock, doesn't bother the guards. Now that we have access to spellcrafting, we make training spells for restoration, destruction, and conjuration, as well as spells to restore attributes. The exciting spells will come later when we have higher skills. Level 20 rolls 3, 7, and 8 for 3 intelligence and 2 strength and willpower, the closest thing to a perfect roll that we've seen. Level 21 also goes better than I expected. This must be the level where we were summoning skeletons while I was working on the script, because all we have is a +5 to intelligence. Any other attribute will be a +1. We roll 8, 1, and then by some miracle we roll 3, and get to take 1 willpower and agility and 5 intelligence. I did not expect to get that. Level 22 returns to our usual luck and rolls 2, 8, and 5. So we have to take 1 endurance and 2 willpower and personality. The willpower is nice, but I would have happily taken the 3 intelligence and 2 speed in place of the 1 endurance and 2 personality. The personality swap shouldn't be a surprise. At this point, the channel motto may as well be personality is useless. But endurance won't help much either because we're not going to get many more levels. We ground conjuration and restoration for level 23, so intelligence and willpower are +3s and everything else is +1. We roll 3, 1, and 6, so we got 3 intelligence and 1 agility and speed. Now that we're level 23, we can get perfect madness armor. We got the ore ages ago, so we grab it and head to Cutter's weapons. I hate the way this armor looks. The helm, cuirass, and gauntlets are fine for fantasy armor, but the greaves and boots are terrible and barely look like any sort of armor at all. But like it or not, it's the best heavy armor in the game. We don't bother making a shield or a weapon because it isn't worth giving up Spellbreaker's spell reflection, and we're using bound weapons. We make a better healing spell and a bound axe that lasts for 1 minute, so we don't have to waste as much time recasting it during battle. Even with this high a conjuration skill and 50-point magicka fortification from a sigil stone enchantment, it takes about half our magicka to bind this axe. The new spells and armor work amazingly well. We handle most enemies with ease, although Storm Atronach and Spider Daedra can put us in a tight spot if our spell reflection fails, and running out of magicka is an issue in longer or back-to-back fights. The Headless Zombie is a significant upgrade to our Scamp, in large part because it doesn't have a useless spell that it insists on spamming and jumps right into melee combat. So far, we've gotten 1 shield sigil stone and 2 magicka fortification ones, and we have room for 2 more. I don't think another shield would be useful because we're at the armor cap of 85%. More magicka is always nice though, and strength would help because I can pretty much guarantee we aren't going to get anywhere near 100 strength. Blunt only has 8 more skill increases, and after those are gone, we'll only be able to get 1 strength at a time, assuming we even roll it. We're high enough level to get a mundane ring from Raven Cameron, so we meet up with Boris and head to the sewers. Raven killed over before I hit the record button, so that should tell you how long he lasted. But as you can see, he had the mundane ring, a significant upgrade over our base ring of retribution. We have good physical armor, so damage reflection is only nice to have, not critical. Our magical defenses, on the other hand, are non-existent except for our 40% spell reflection. Don't get me wrong, it's great when it triggers, but 60% of the time, we take the full effect of whatever we're hit with. The mundane ring will boost our spell reflection to 75%, giving us much better odds, and it will give us a 50% magic resistance, so even if we are hit, we'll only take half damage. On one of his lackeys, we find a Ring of Perfection that increases all attributes by 10. On most characters, it isn't as great as it sounds because they're only using a few attributes that they've maxed by this point, but this character can get some use out of most attributes, and even with the extra 10 points, nothing is near 100. Why am I saying that like it's a good thing? Level 24 isn't great, as it rolls 2, 1, and 5 for 2 endurance and 1 agility and personality. Level 25 rolls 6, 2, and 4 for 2 speed, 3 endurance, and 1 luck. I would rather have strength, intelligence, or willpower, but we weren't stuck with agility or personality, so I guess we should be thankful. This is the level I was aiming for because the escutcheon of Coral is at its highest level, but I don't think we need it. Magic is a bigger threat to us. I'd rather have Spellbreaker equipped. Oh well. We still need 2 more sigil stones to finish enchanting our armor, and one of them may as well come from the gate we need to close with Bird, but first we need to clear out the Mythic Dawn Shrine. Clearing out the shrine goes about how you'd expect. These cultists have yet to present a problem in any run, so we get to play the role of a slasher villain as we hack our way through them alongside our clan fear. Yes, we have enough magicka and conjuration skill to summon a clan fear, and it is glorious. I could have let him run down the cultists, to be honest. We level up to 26 during the carnage and roll 2, 7, and 5 for 2 endurance and strength and 1 personality. The strength is nice, but I really wish we'd gotten all these endurance rolls earlier. For the Daedric artifact, we give Martin Volendrong. We're committed to using bound weapons, and most enemies that would be worth paralyzing, like Mankar Cameron, have spell reflection, so we'd risk the paralysis being reflected if we used it anyway. That brings us to helping Bird through the Oblivion gate outside of Bruma. The two guards don't last long, but Bird is immortal and we nearly are. Combat is slow, but we're rarely in danger since we got our enchantments. We have to be in several back-to-back encounters to run low on magicka if we stick to our axe, Clanfear, and occasional healing. We tried other summons, but the Clanfear's speed and size helps it maneuver. The Daedroth is stronger, but gets in the way or gets stuck, and a lot of the other summons get preoccupied with casting spells. I wanted a Javali, I hope that's how you pronounce that, because it could summon a Clanfear and we'd effectively have 2 minions. But the only mage who sells that spell is at the Arcane University, and I am not getting all the Mages Guild recommendations just for that. Combat speeds up once we get the Master Heavy Armor perk, making it weightless. It seems to have improved our stagger recovery and attack speed in addition to our movement speed. I'm not sure if it's the equipment weight, the Ring of Perfection, or both, but suddenly we're a whirlwind. To be clear, this still falls apart without our enchantments, but they've allowed us to overcome our mediocre attributes. We still have one more piece of armor to enchant, so we close the Oblivion gate outside Anvil for our last Sigil Stone. I doubt having Anvil guards instead of militia will help much, but I figured we might as well get them. We wanted another strength or magicka fortifying Sigil Stone, and we got a magicka one first, so we should never have to worry about running out of magicka. We level up to 27 and roll 6, 7, and 1 for 2 speed, strength, and agility. I'm not too upset about missing the intelligence because we have magicka fortifications now, and I don't think we'll be getting stronger spells that would need more magicka. But it's worth pointing out that any intelligence increases will be +1s from now on, because we've maxed out conjuration and the other 2 intelligence skills, mysticism and alchemy, are off limits to us. I am glad we got strength because blunt is at 99, so at best we'll have one more shot at a +2 increase. Now we need to get the armor of Tiber Septum and the Great Welkin Stone. Bound weapons in our Clanfear can hit raids. I wonder if all summons can hit ghostly enemies or if it works because our Clanfear is a Daedra. We might do a summoned creatures only run and test that. Regardless of why it works, it means getting through Sanctutor for the armor isn't difficult. It just takes a while because the enemies are so tanky. On the off chance one of their silence spells gets through our spell reflection at a bad time, we still have Caliban's Grim Retort as a backup. We just don't have it equipped because I don't want it to slow us down unless we need it. We leveled to 28 with our last blunt increase, plus some restoration and destruction increases that we got by grinding during the hike to Sanctutor, so we take a nap on one of the decaying bedrolls in the fort and roll 1, 4, and 2 for 1 agility and luck and 3 endurance. This is probably our last level because blunt, heavy armor, and conjuration have all been mastered. We get the occasional restoration and security skill points, and we grind destruction while traveling, but those skills all increase pretty slowly, and we don't have much traveling left to do. In fact, the last place we have to go that we can't fast travel to is Miskarkand for the Great Welkin Stone. As usual, we're skipping to when we pick up the stone and fight the Lich guarding it, because it's the most difficult fight in the ruin. Our Clanfear keeps the zombies distracted just long enough for us to take out the Lich before the zombies reach us, and once it's down, we resummon our Clanfear and take out the zombies. To be honest, the fight against the Dread zombies on the way out was worse because of their regenerating health. The disease they carry, astral vapors, stunts and damages magicka, but thankfully we don't contract it. Our 75% disease resistance from being a red guard might have been pulling its weight there, but according to the wiki, astral vapors ignores disease resistance, so we might have just gotten lucky. Now we need the Great Sigil Stone, which means it's time for the battle for Bruma. After ignoring the Countess's complaints about the lack of allies, we head out to the battlefield and wait for Martin to show up. And yes, we gave him Tiber Septim's armor before getting the Great Welkin Stone, so he properly equipped his armor. Not that it helped on the first attempt when our Clanfear got it into its head to attack Martin. Whenever I summon anything in this fight, the guards hit it, or it hits the guards, or something, and they start fighting each other instead of the enemies. Sometimes the guards even turn on us when that happens. If it only happened with Daedra, it would make sense that they can't tell our Daedra apart from the enemies, but it also happens with summoned undead. It even happened during a modded playthrough with a summonable dog. On the second attempt, we don't summon any creatures and just dive into the melee. We focus on Javalis and Dremora mages because they have summons, and of course their allies don't attack their summons, so they can be a nuisance. Martin holds his own well enough, and we make it into the Great Gate. We ran past the enemies inside the Great Gate. We even brought a water walking potion to make taking the shortcut over the lava easier. And the surviving militia took out the stragglers while we dodged the collapsing siege engine. A surprising amount of the militia survived, along with both guards from Anvil, one of the Bruma guards, and even Captain Bird. This is the first time more than one or two people other than us and Martin have made it. Joffrey and Boris still managed to get themselves removed from the census. Seriously, what was Boris even doing? You've seen us carve our way through enough Daedra to know that Paradise isn't going to pose any challenges, so let's skip to the fight with Mankar. We take out Raven and What's-Her-Face before we enter the throne room, which buys us a few seconds before they revive to charge in and hopefully take out Mankar. For once, the paralysis effect on our forward power attack from being a master of blunt works, and we chop up Mankar before he recovers. Could that paralysis have been reflected? The wiki just says it ignores resist paralysis. I assume it isn't a spell because it's from a weapon perk, but for all I know, it might be considered a magical effect under the hood, and we just got insanely lucky. Now we need to get Martin to the Temple of the One so he can fulfill his destiny of becoming a kaiju. This time we don't make the mistake of running out of the palace, which often results in Martin being sent to meet his ancestors early off screen. And we risk summoning our Clanfear. Amazingly, everyone works together smoothly. I don't know if that was sheer luck or if the battle for Bruma is different in some way that makes it prone to the guards and militia attacking summons, but either way we make it out of the palace. From here we can just run past everything to the Temple of the One and Martin will follow us with no issues, winning the run and proving that yes, we can beat Oblivion with a randomized character. Let's go over our final attributes and how we got to them. I'll also show our skills to prove that only allowed minor skills increased, aside from the one illusion increase from a skill book. Here's how many times and how much each attribute increased over the 27 times we leveled up, and their final totals with and without fortification. Agility. Rolled 14 times for a total of 18 points that did very little beyond giving us a bit of stamina. Our agility was 58, 68 with fortifications. Endurance. Rolled 10 times for a total of 24 points, but half of them happened at or after level 22. Our endurance was 74, 84 with fortifications, making it our highest base attribute. Intelligence. Rolled 9 times for a total of 23 points. Our intelligence was 58, 68 with fortifications. That plus 5 helped, but the Magicka fortifications were carrying us because 23 intelligence grants 46 Magicka, and each Magicka fortification enchantment grants 50 Magicka. Luck. Rolled 9 times for a total of 9 points. Our luck was 59, and we had a nice amount with fortifications that did very little besides reducing the cost of restoration spells, because restoration was the only skill we used in combat that wasn't mastered by the end. Personality. Rolled 12 times for a total of 16 points. Our personality was 56, 66 with fortifications, which is way too much. I thought we rolled personality more often, but it still increased during almost half our levels and did nothing. Speed rolled 7 times for a total of 12 points. Our speed was 57, 67 with fortifications. Strength rolled 13 times for a total of 26 points. Our strength was 66, 88 with fortifications, because it was the only thing being fortified by something other than the Ring of Perfection. It was the only helpful attribute that we rolled consistently. Willpower rolled 7 times for a total of 13 points. Our willpower was 43, 53 with fortifications. We had to pass on several +3s, and when we did roll it, we only got +1s and 2s. If it had been better, we might have been able to use more direct damage spells. The stats rolled more evenly than I thought. Agility, luck, and personality accounted for 35 of our 81 attribute increases, but that makes sense considering they're nearly half of the available attributes. The attributes we wanted, endurance, intelligence, strength, and willpower, made up 39 of the increases, and speed got the remaining 7. The RNG didn't have it out for us, it's just that Oblivion has a lot of dud attributes depending on what you want to use. We were lucky to get an armor skill, otherwise we would have had to enchant clothing with shield instead of magicka fortification, or used shield spells if we got alteration. Getting a weapon skill allowed conjuration to pull way more weight than I thought it would. I hadn't used bound equipment in Oblivion. In Skyrim, bound weapons' weightlessness doesn't matter because their normal attacks don't consume stamina, regardless. But in Oblivion, they have a big advantage there, especially for heavier weapon types. Getting restoration was another stroke of luck. I would have taken alchemy for potions and poisons, but at least we got a healing skill. We had over 300 health, which with our armor and resistances was enough, but not amazing for a level 28 character. We had 286 magicka, but 170 of that was from magicka and intelligence fortifications, and our actual magicka of 116 wouldn't have been able to maintain our bound weapons and clan fear. This character does not function without high-level enchanted gear, in large part due to our limited magicka. Adrenaline Rush and Mara's Gift carried us for a while, but by level 17 we were struggling even with those, and there's a reason I went for Madness Armor as soon as we could get the best set at level 23. Even removing the Mundane Ring would be bad, because without it we were getting toasted by magic users left, right, and center. But with the right gear, we were pretty powerful. I hope you guys enjoyed that run. Please consider subscribing if you did, and I'll see you guys next time.